Shyam Thapa sir, welcome. I forgot to welcome some of our faculty members in the end. So Shyam sir, hi Harshita, good evening. Hi Roshiji, good evening.
Hi Akram, hello.
Hello. So good evening all educators of Nepal and good evening to Professor Partha Chatterjee, Harshita for this wonderful webinar. To all our viewers in Facebook and YouTube who are watching us live. Just a quick intro. Policy Times is a daily-based media cum strategic think tank, and our motto is journalism for policy and progress. So, in our activity or through our activity, we want to achieve policy and progress. Developmental journalism is our motto. When we started promoting development, we found education is the foundation of nation building. So, unless the education system is world class or best, the country cannot be best. And when we started, we realized there are three areas we can contribute in the education sector. One is cross-border education exchange. Post-COVID, cross-border education exchange has become easier, doable, and more effective. So best practices sharing between different countries would take us to a different level. The second is school-university connect. Our biggest challenge was how do we reduce dropout. So when we wanted to reduce dropout, the best solution we could found it was that if schools are seamlessly connected with universities and students have better understanding and prospect of or career prospect, we can reduce the dropouts from schools. The third is education industry connect. So these are the three things with which we have started our journey. Today's program is due to the blessings of the Shivnadar University, one of India's prominent universities. Now it is also one of the 9 top universities of the country, which has been given the rank of institution of eminence. Institution of eminence itself is a huge recognition for a nation like India, which is again a pioneer in the education sector. I want to also thank you, the international department of the Shivnadar University, for extending their support for this program. Now, today's topic we have decided is globalizing education, building world-class institutions. These two are extreme and of paramount importance. How do we globalize it and how do we build world-class institutions? India, Nepal are close allies for decades now. Now, how do we collaborate under the broader umbrella so that we together can build world-class institutions and globalize our education? So, to understand and discuss all this, we have the eminent experts from and educators from Nepal. And also from India, I have Professor Dr. Partha Chatterjee, Dean of International Partnerships and Professor, Head Department of Economics at Shivnadar University. So I would request him first to give the theme address and keynote address and set the tone of the discussion, and then we will request our Nepalese educators to share their views. So I would like to request Professor Chatterjee to kindly take the honor.
Uh, Thank you, Akram, and thank you to Policy Times for organizing this. I appreciate that. And thanks everyone for taking the time off and being here today. Um, I mean, to begin with, the fact that we are all there today, it just shows that, the internationalization is part and parcel of education, right? I mean, internationalization, you cannot really think of a simple national education system which is not connected to the world. So in that sense, the whole idea of education is so global that we really don't have to worry too much about internationalizing. Yet, if you think about it, what happens is often we are thinking in terms of very narrow geographic definitions and things like that often, and we are bothered about how things are shaping up in our own locality. And here today, when I talk about globalization and internationalization of education, as well as how to build a world-class university and an institution, I'll draw upon my experience a lot because of not only how I have been connected with this university, which I helped build up, but also throughout my journey as from student and thereafter, when I have been part of some very wonderful universities and departments. So let me start a little bit about that. In that sense, with my background itself. So I grew up in West Bengal, not far from Nepal. I mean, a very different part of West Bengal, not close to the borders. I grew up in the south and west of Bengal, in a town called Asansol, right? So, I one of the memories that I have from growing up is a trip to Nalanda. Mm. And Asansol, where I grew up, and Nalanda were not too far off. It's about, a couple of 100 kilometers away. And I was just simply fascinated because I was standing there and trying to imagine how it was for people from across the globe to be part of that, center. Nalanda, if you, I don't know if you have ever visited that, or if you've been in that geography, it's not near the coasts. It's not as if you are going to discover it while you're traveling to some other part of the world or something like that. It was a place which really attracted people from across the globe. And how did they do that, right? Did they go about advertising, Google words, and Facebook ads? Certainly not, right? It was simply by building an institution which was excellent. It was this pursuit of excellence that made it a center for international education, right? So that's one of the things that I think is very, very important in trying to think about globalization and education. It's at the end of the day, you don't pursue globalization. You don't pursue saying that, oh, I'll advertise in this market and so on and so forth. What you want to do is build a center, a university, which is globally known, which is excellent in what it's trying to do. And that's what we want to do, right? That's what we want to do. We want to build a university which is globally known. And I've been, fortunate to be part of Shivnada University from very early on and give shape to this kind of an imagination that, in some sense, our founder, Mr. Shivnadar, who's also the founder of HCL, one of the largest companies in the world today, um, bestowed upon us. Our goal has been to build a center of excellence, a research university. Now, why that is important, and that let me go back again to my experience. After my doing my master's, actually I did my master's in physics, then I chose to move on to economics, right? And when I was trying to think about a career in economics and looking at how to go about doing that, I found, and that probably is true to large extent even now, that, you know, to be the best in your own area, in your own field, you had to leave the country. I had no choice but to go out of India. At that point, I went to University of Minnesota to do my PhD, right? So when I came back, and after that, I went to become a professor at National University of Singapore, right? But I wasn't very, very happy being away from my country, my place where I could contribute so much. So when I came back, that was one of the things that I kept thinking, that what can we do to help people achieve their dreams here in this neighborhood? And I'm talking about not only India maybe, but also South Asia in general, right? That why do we need to think about going to faraway places to achieve our dreams, right? And one of the things that was really lacking, and India, by the way, has had a history of higher education and attracting international students and being at the frontier of education. And I'm not only talking about Nalanda, right? I'm talking about even maybe a few decades back, when India had always been at the center of higher education globally, right? But somehow, somewhere, that was lost because the focus on research seems to have gone away from the universities to a large extent, right? And that's something that we wanted to bring back, because unless you create knowledge, you cannot really innovate in disseminating knowledge either. I can study hundreds of books, but if I'm not actually doing research, if I'm not creating new knowledge, then I what I bring back to the class is probably not good enough. And that is why, we have probably fallen back from the frontier to a certain extent. But that is something that we are trying to build. And I think one of the things about globalization, and I began with by saying that it has to be a center of excellence, because without that we cannot have a global center. But how do we go about building that center of excellence? And research seems to be one of the key things. It's creation of the knowledge as well as dissemination of the knowledge, and these two go hand in hand. So creation of knowledge becomes a very, very important component of it. And in India, over the last decade, we are undergoing a lot of change in higher education sector. A lot of new universities coming up, a lot of churning happening. Yet only a few handful of the universities are focused on research. And at Shivnada University, we have been building up research in all our programs across the 4 schools that we have. We have a school of natural sciences, a school of engineering, a school of humanities and social sciences, and a school of management and entrepreneurship. And in each of these components, research is very central. And why research matters, let me tell you how pedagogy of Shivnada University incorporates research, right? And you'll understand why this research focus is very important. So our undergraduate degrees are, for example, called BA Research or BSc Research, right? And these are credit-based programs, typically a 4-year program, right? Which is also a little unusual for this part of the world, though the new national education policy in India, which is being implemented right about now, is going to advocate that, right? And some of the things that we were doing is actually found its way into the national education policy, and we are very, very proud of that. So what we do is we incorporate research in all our elective courses, etc. But we also require all our students to actually do a thesis. And why that is a critical part of our pedagogy is because the kind of world that we live in, and again, here we're thinking about not only a very in very narrow terms. The world is really the whole world. It's full of uncertainties, and the kind of jobs, and I'm not only talking about COVID today, right? COVID, of course, has taken the level of uncertainty to completely another level. But the world that we live in is changing very rapidly. The kind of jobs that our students, our children are going to get in 5 years, 10 years, we don't even know those things, right? So it's very important for us to be able to think about how to prepare these students for that kind of a world. And again, the world that we live in is global. People move around. It's not as if people are these days rooted in their own village or town. So they move around within country, across countries. And many of our students go abroad, they study abroad. Half of our students from social sciences, for example, go on to do masters abroad. But also, as our alumni are growing, they're getting jobs everywhere in the world. Now the question is, how do we prepare them so that they can actually succeed in such a world? And there, the idea is that you need to be able to not only solve a problem, but first of all, identify a problem, define a problem, and then think of a solution, right? If I give my students a problem and say solve dy dx of log x plus x square or whatever complicated expression that I can think of, 100% of them will do that, right? Because they have the training, they're good students, they have been doing such problems all the time. But if I tell them that, look, I need to build a, a rail line through this neighborhood, how do you go about doing that? Now, this kind of a problem not only involves thinking about the engineering part of it, not only involves thinking about the kind of materials you need, but the economics of it. Is it feasible? Is it going to be feasible to run that? Does it make sense? Will it serve the community? It involves sociology and anthropology. Understanding the society. Does it actually serve the society? Does it make sense to subject the society to this, right? It involves government policy, of course. In Across the South Asia, we know land is very, very in short supply. So, does it make sense to use that kind of a land? What kind of land policy do we have? So all of these things together. So, to be able to identify what are the different things that you need to even think of is the first challenge, right? Any real life problem that you can think of, the first thing that you need to figure out is what are the challenges. And you can't do that in any taught course. So we said that, okay, you, even if you're an undergraduate student, go ahead and do your own research. And only then you can be able to figure out how to actually identify the problem. And it's not only important to identify the problem, right? I mean, we can today identify the problem that, oh, there is climate change happening, global warming happening, right? But if our students can, students come back and say, I want to solve global warming, very noble thought, but you go nowhere, right? You have to be able to identify a tangible problem. You have to be able to say, oh, I need to look at how to change the source of energy in domestic usage. Can we move from uh, thermal to solar or to wind or something like that? Can I think of,
Right.
so
Sir, if you can conclude in 1.5 minutes would be great, sir.
sure. So that's at the heart of building an excellence, a center of excellence, right? Now, when went back to this example, of Minnesota, to conclude, let me go back to that. So what they did was they managed to build, even though the kind of discourse that was happening there was very different, right? It was mostly built on theology, understanding human existence and relation and so on and so forth. Our set of knowledge that we are pursuing now is very different, but they were actually pushing the frontier, and that's exactly why they became global. And therefore that's something that all universities across, our South Asia in particular, in South Asia we have a wonderful resource, which is young people, right? We have a source of really pushing the countries to a next level, but we need to be able to educate them. We need to be able to build that kind of a skill level that will take our countries to the next level. And we can do that only if we start building these centers of excellence. So center of excellence is, I think, at the heart of building a global university, and attracting students, faculty. And I invite all of you, by the way, to come to Shivnad University to see for yourself. It's a beautiful campus by itself. It's 280 acres. It has nice a lake where migratory birds come and so on. But it's also the people. We have managed to get some of the best professors and best faculty members from across the globe, everyone trained in among the best places. And that's what we want. We want the best people, faculty, students, all of it, because that's where the vibrancy comes. That's where different points of view come together to solve some of our critical problems of our time. Yeah. So with that, I will stop and I'll hear you guys. And then at the end, we can have some more discussion around.
Thank you so much, sir, for your keynote address and theme address. Actually, we indeed Shivnadar University is like one of the best universities of India. We will talk more on that. Just to set the tone, what do we global when we say globalizing education? What do we mean? Number one, how our teachers, faculty members, and students are global ready. That is number one. Number two, what is the global competence of our children and our faculty members? Are they globally competent? Are they globally ready for the initiatives that is related to lead the world? The third is global classroom resources. Do we have the resources to be really globally competitive? Like, do you have the global resources? The fifth, in fact, fourth or fifth is technology. Are you integrated with the latest technology of the world? And the fourth and the I think fifth most important one is collaboration. Do we have or do you have global collaborations in field? So this is globalizing education. The second part of it is building world class institutions. So I did a little study on South Korea, the education system of South Korea, education system of Japan, education system of Singapore, which are actually top ranking countries in terms of having the best education system of the world. The number one commonality I found in all is the best paid teachers. They pay the highest amount of money to their teachers. The second most important quality I found is all of these countries have tried to imbibe the core values of this, the national values, core national values into their education system. That has played a tremendous role in this. So, for example, India, whatever the core national values that we have, or Nepal we have, if you can imbibe those, would be great. So, I will not go further. I want to request my colleague and my friend from Nepal, Ms. Roshi Lamichane, if you can say a few words in 1 minute on this, who is also the co-moderator of this session. I will request Ranjan Jha to begin, Ranjan Oja sir to begin. So, Roshi ji, are you there? If you can just, in 1 or 2 minutes, just a brief note. If you can unmute yourself first.
Very good evening and a warm namaste to you all. I was not expected to speak just now. I thought I would take up in the second half, but yeah, we're all excited to hear from all the Nepali educators. Some of them, I know them personally. They happen to be my friends, my batchmates. So let me hear from them. Let us hear from them. And then towards the end, probably I'm going to share some of my thoughts.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Roshiji. Very brief and short. But though I can't see Suhas sir now, I would like to request Mr. Ranjan Oja, founder, executive director of Nepal School of Entrepreneurship. And a little guideline is that we stick to the time and to the point. So a 20-minute speech can easily be summarized in 5 minutes in bullet points. So I want to request our first speaker, Ranjan Oja sir, to kindly share your views.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akram Haq, for inviting me at this very special webinar and in connecting Nepal and India, basically within the field of education and connecting a lot of pioneers of Nepal in education. Thank you very much for you, Akram, and honorable speaker. It's great to hear your outstanding opening remarks on education and covering South Asia, Nepal, India, and globally the entire the glimpse of the education how and the excellence. Professor Dr. Bertha Chatterjee, thank you very much for your great remarks. I think I need to conclude my delivery in 5 minutes. A lot of topics to be addressed, but it is a fantastic platform, like connecting Nepal and India.
Yeah, please go on.
Am I heard there?
Yeah. Please go on, sir.
As Dr. Pratha was highlighting about the Nalanda University, a few hours before I was like having a Google research, what is Nalanda? I think I was thinking Nalanda was the first university of the world, but it's the first university of India. So when we come into academic debate, there has been a debate that why Nalanda comes into the discussion because of its absolute excellence and the value that it carries all the way. So today's topic, like globalizing education and building world-class institution, particularly after the post-COVID era. How can we make it global? I think particularly India and Nepal has a lot of advantage to work with in education, because we are a neighboring country and we have a lot of opportunities to 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 work together, to collaborate together, because in the spirit of our neighborhood, the distance that we live in, very close distance, and our culture, our social settings, and primarily India's massive investment in technology, in education, and in, of course, R&D. So Nepal, I think Nepal needs to work on how can we tap the India's competence that India has. That doesn't mean that India has everything, but if I talk from the Nepal perspective, I think it's a huge opportunity to collaborate and to tap the excellence, to tap the opportunity among our educational institution, among our joint education initiative. And India has been one of the, like one of the front runner in creating a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of maybe social entrepreneurs, a lot of industries emerging. It's a new economy, it's an emerging economy. So Nepal, I think we particularly who are working in the education sector, I think we have a huge opportunity to tap from Indian side. But of course, Indian side can also work with us, because Nepal has a lot of unexplored sectors, unexplored maybe economy, maybe in education as well, maybe in entrepreneurship. So maybe India can also work with Nepal, particularly in education field. How can we collaborate each other, and how can we build a common excellence from the both sides? Let me have a few remarks on how can we um, work on the globalization side of the education, and in building a class, a kind of its institution, maybe. Like for instance, connectivity is very, very important in today's world, and particularly COVID made us realize that we should we should make digital platform as one of the primary platform for the connectivity, and we should work on exploring various avenues. Let me give an example. Like for instance, India has a very massive, very big academic institution. So now connectivity means it doesn't mean that into a two side two level, like connecting from institution to institution, but also having a leverage of giving the platform maybe between two faculties, maybe between students level. How can we connect from one faculty to another faculty? Or maybe how can we connect from students to students, maybe from students from Delhi can connect to the students from one faculty in Kathmandu. So I think we should work from macro to micro as well, giving a huge platform, because there is a huge investment in technology. So we might not have that capacity to invest, but India could leverage that from Nepal, for instance. So I think we should also think from that level as well. And also maybe just thinking from the policy side, maybe why not we should work on creating an ecosystem of the policy, so that we can intervene, we both sides can work together and intervene the challenges that both sides are having in leveraging, in making more horizontal level of thinking, horizontal level of working together, and the entire collaborative efforts. So maybe we should also think from the policy level. We can create infrastructure, work together, and maybe intervene, maybe with the both side government. We should, as Professor said, we should identify the problem, and then we should address that commonly. I think that works better for the future.
If you can
And of
conclude
course,
in 30 seconds, that would be great.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think let me wrap up now. I had a lot of topics to cover, but I don't have time. So thank you very much. Thank you
In
very much.
bullet points, you can mention, sir. You in bullet points, just you can mention.
I think it's about, of course, it's about co-creation from the both sides, because one entity, one institution cannot leverage that effort that if we can jointly collaborate from the both sides. It's about collaboration, it's about synergy, it's about networking, and it's about creating a supportive ecosystem into entire educational initiatives. I think that's the bullet point that I would like to stress.
Amazing. Absolutely. See, the last couple of points that you shared in bullet point is the crux of the entire speech. Co-creation, synergy, networking. So this is also a platform for networking. I mean, the chat box is open. You can please share your contacts. And this was actually the idea
Thank you
of
very much.
Parthu sir when we discussed in the last Zoom call that yes, faculty level exchange, between one universities, all faculties, another university in Nepal's all faculties, we can meet and we can talk to the point in detail about what is happening in their department, what is happening in other department. So I think a lot can be expected from this. And yes, student one. So we also have designed a series of career guidance programs where we are reaching out to a lot of students across the globe in Asia, Africa, and Middle East, so that students get some career guidance support to it. I want to go to our next speaker, a very renowned personality of Nepal, Mr. Subarna Bhattarai, founder and principal, MET Public School, and also very famously known as trainer of the trainers, the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award recipient. So, Subarna sir, 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes, I mean, 7 minutes you can take max for the keynote, the initial speakers, 4 or 5 speakers, keynote speakers we have. So I have been a little harsh, please forgive me. I want to be to the point and I want to have opinions of all our speakers. Shubhan sir, unmute yourself and please over to you.
Okay.
Yes, sir, please unmute yourself. So again, you by mistake, you muted yourself.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm thankful to the whole team and Mr. Akram. I'm very thankful to you to share my viewpoints in this webinar. First of all, I'd like to be very grateful. I express my grateful to Mr. Partha and Ranjan Oza and you alike. What I have seen, I am brought up in education from the government school. First, I need to admit this. And in the Nepalese education system, the certification or the academic certification is prioritized. That is taken as something which indicates the whole achievement. So I personally, as the student, also denied it. And I was interested in music and other areas, but my school did not have such curriculum. So later when I graduated or I completed my master's degree, I was seeking to have some transformation in education over here. I have opened one small school, established one school in different perspective, like the economic reality of the people over here could not afford the bigger institutions, and they are limited within the limited possibilities in education due to economic condition. So I thought the new idea could be economically free student, the one who is economically free, the one who could pursue. So that is the something different of our school than others. And next, I would like to join why I have affiliated my institution with uh, another program, that is Duke of Edinburgh International Award. It has some areas to lift the students in their skill, to explore their skills, their interest, passion one, which could be profession later. So we have been experimenting. We have initiated it just before in my school, but yet we have the bigger achievement before as well when I was working in some other institution. It has opened one area for service. Let me express it. Service to adjust themselves among others globally, let's say. And next, is recreation for the physical health, physical awareness, and adventure and crisis management is yet addressed. That's why we affiliated with this organization. And when I came to know about what do you call this webinar session, I would admit few things. I would take some what do you call uh, inferences from the previous speakers as well. So if we talk about the areas of professionalism, then if we think the skill transfer, the student exchange in the skills, or even in the what you call faculty members to explore the new endeavors for of education, or to exchange the knowledge sharing or the strategic sharing among us, that could be somehow very beneficial for the school level education that I'm working on now. So school level education could have an immense impact, what you call immense change, enhancement in this area that we could seek in the global, what do you call partnership, or in the global scenario discussion. Next, collaboration as co-creations and others could be done. But what I want to focus in today's session is we have been working for the what do you call the enhancement in not only in one area that Nepalese government has focused. Let me tell you, Nepalese government has focused on only academic certification. So for this, we need to come up with some inspirational acknowledgement in the form of the Asian Standard Certification Program, focusing on all different areas. If it is set as the program for the student exchange or participation, could be more or what do you call nourishing in the global or in the Asian region or the SARC region, that we intend to have some exchange with the students and the what do you call faculty members. So what I admit in my viewpoint is the skills or the local level what do you call resources that typically Nepal does in different areas. If we set it as the what do you call identification skill for the knowledge transfer or the professional growth certification or
Yeah, please.
acknowledgement,
If you can
that could
conclude in 30 seconds or 1 minute.
oh, okay, that could be one of the nurturing step for the global exchange program. I think so. In my point, the typical certification program within our community or the countries around for the global what do you call acknowledgement, to verify it as the typical thing of the Asian Pacific region or this what do you call SARC region, to uh, admit it or to present them in the global scenario. That could be the new initiative from our side to present our assets in the global scenario. I
I think
think
one wonderful point, sir. This global certification gives, because a lot of Indian or Nepalese education institutions do not
yeah,
have exposure and idea about the global standard.
yes,
This certification process actually gives us the exposure, because then these global bodies, train us, step by step in how to
okay,
globalize
yes,
our system.
yeah,
You are very
okay,
right, sir. Thank you so much
uh,
for
uh, uh,
raising this point. Other than skill transfer and global student exchange, I now want to go to. Thank you so much, sir. Please be with us.
okay,
We will have
okay,
a long discussion, and in the
okay,
end,
okay,
after all individual speeches, we will have a discussion actually, open
okay, okay,
discussion. I'd be very
uh,
happy to have your other thoughts also, but in bullet points, we are training ourselves that. I now
okay,
want to request another veteran Nepalese educator, Mr. Ishwar Adhikari, who is the founder and chief executive officer of Pathshala Nepal Foundation. Again, this foundation is also doing wonderful, innovative, unique work in terms of catering education in this beautiful country of Nepal. May I request Ishwar sir, if you can kindly come in video and share your views and thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Akram
So
Haq.
if you can have your camera in the horizontal mode, sir, like this, because I could not have you. Yeah, would be great. Thank you so much, sir.
Is this fine now?
Absolutely fine, sir. Please go
Okay.
on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Akram Haq. This is really exciting for me to be part of this webinar, um, especially in this context of the post-COVID. We cannot say fully post-COVID, but we are heading towards the post-COVID, let's hope. We clearly cannot say how long and which way we are going to come out of this pandemic. In this globalizing education and building world-class institutions in the post-COVID digital era, I have few points which I hope will be relevant based on our preparation and educational institutions, and also not only the institution mean our teachers, human resources involved into it, and other staffs, along with how to make our program and the policies and our activities really um, relevant to our students, and that also supports to the parents basically. Uh, so I believe in the principle of evolution. I think this pandemic is also trying to give us the new horizon or new mode of teaching and learning, both in schools, also in the universities, wherever the person is, the learner or the educated teacher is, one can participate in learning and gain the depth of the knowledge, and also to be part of the curriculum and the school and the university programs. So COVID just happened to be the point of digitalizing and also preparing ourselves that this is the relevant and reliable mode of learning, because there was a time we were trying to um, basically focus on digitalizing, but we didn't have so much confidence. This will be really helpful, useful, and also we can rely on it fully. It's both way, not only educational institution, but also the participant like students and the teachers. So parallelly, another point I would like to focus, like we also need to revisit our curriculum, because we must not only telling digitalizing is enough, but we also need to revisit our curriculum so that we can focus how we can make digitalization friendly curriculum. This also would be necessary point. And in the meantime, we also need to develop our teachers and the other hands behind it in teaching and learning to equally competent, so that it can be effectively delivered. The teaching and learning activities can take place in effective way. And this mode of learning, this digitalization is new mode of learning, and it is dividing our activities both in physical mode, because we cannot deny totally physical mode, but parallelly we also need to focus on digitalizing and physical mode. And this so far, what we have practiced over the months, most of the institutions, Nepal, India, and all over the world, they have also acquired new hope, new confidence. The pandemic like this might come and go, but we need to evolve. We need to focus on our activities. We still need to continue our life. And this has not only limited our teaching and learning, this has also broadened the horizon, like wherever the person is, the students and the institution or the teachers, they can come into connection, they can contact, they can continue their activities. And this is the evolution, this is part of life, and educational institutions always can exist, and they can continue their teaching and learning. That kind of points I would like to raise. And these are my points, Mr. Hart.
Thank you so much. A very short brief to the time, to the time, actually, to the point. Wonderful to have your points, sir, on different aspects. Now, I want to go to our next speaker. Again, a veteran, Indian come Nepalese veteran, Mr. P.K. Sankaralingam, sir, who is the principal of Delhi Public School, Nepal, one of India's largest and most reputed education brands, and also now contributing in Nepal, providing high quality education in the country. So, sir, over to you.
Good evening to all. I'm happy to attend this program. My thanks goes to Shivnadar University associated with Policy Times and my colleague principal Meera ma'am. She is a person to give some information regarding this. So really, I would like to start immediately because Mr. Akram already told the time limit. I know that the webinar, how it is going on. We are in a place like a remote area, like remote in the sense like a place is little eastern part, Dharan. Our school is located in BP Koirala Institute of Medical Sciences, inside that, where we cater pre-nursery to 12th standard. We have started up 1996, the school, exclusive CBSE school. And as while pointing this, we are continuing with all the challenges and we are struggling and we are retaining the school for the Silver Jubilee year. It's a good platform. In fact, next to Kendra Vidyalaya, we are the only school, exclusive CBSE school. I start with Mr. Partha Chatterjee. What he rightly mentioned, globalization is not started now. When pandemic started, we are talking about globalization. But Nalanda already there, globalization. Like how, in what way education can be globalized. Of late, this pandemic taught lessons for us. Like you see how to catch up, what are the positive and negative. That also positive and negative, short-term, long-term, I would like to categorize. In school sector, I would like to explain you in school sector, primary and secondary. We cannot take it for granted. Globalization in the sense, just like that, we take it everything to be digitalized. It's not like that. But this pandemic taught a lesson, knowing the digitalization, implementing the digitalization, and rectification of errors too. I would like to point out here, the primary education, all the eminent educationists are here. They would agree. We cannot just dump everything on one side. Say, for example, primary children demands, primary children all, say, for example, 2.5, 3.5 age group onwards, till they reach out 10 plus, they need the support of the parental touch, which we have to give that. Just we missed that during this digital pandemic, whatever we call this time. At the same time, we could see a drastic change in the attitude of the children. In the long term, children started picking up. In what way to catch up? Parents, it's a triangle. Children, parents with the teachers, by and large society, learn. For example, a positive impact if you take, increasing the scope and reach education to all segments of society, redefining the role of schools and developing assessment policies. I would like to point out, in the month of April, we thought within 1 month this problem will solve. We switched over to video classes and we entered into a Google Meet, and we are successfully, when we are really attained, when we are really felt happy, when we have completed our first remote evaluation test, children are equipped. From 3rd standard to 12th standard, everybody well equipped. Increasing the research and entrepreneurship, and people got different way of approaching, establishing partnerships between the public and private sectors. Now, question comes here. This pandemic, pandemic only created the roadmap for us to reach the destiny. Still now we have to go for different levels. Always when positive is there, negative will be there. possible inequality related to educational services provided to the students, decreasing academic attainment in countries that lack technological means to provide distance learning. Yes, we faced it. Even in India, we used to face the remote places, but network facilities and other related things we can sort out that. Difficulties in measuring learning outcomes due to underdeveloped students. Say, for example, we call it as slow learners, performance assessment system. That also there is a chance to reach out. We are doing it when we go parallelly online and offline classes. What I'm trying to tell, like these type of things, see, with the negative impacts, short term or long term, we cannot stop at a moment. Apart from that, I would like to point out, due to time constraint, there are some, when we are thinking for globalizing world-class education post-COVID season, I would like to put in front of the panelists and the principals, senior people. I'm categorizing into 3 levels: multiple disruptions, challenges to education system, common lessons and opportunities. If we carefully go through this, as rightly Subarna sir also told, there is a common platform should be there for countries like Nepal and SAARC countries at least. Certification. We are lagging even in pre-COVID, before also, some certification process. Lack of getting qualified physical education teachers, activities, arts and crafts, and other activities like. So there should be a common platform for SAARC countries, by and large, Asian countries. For example, Dharan is a small place here. My experience, I'll tell you, our children are now attending classes in Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, other places. This COVID only brought this. Before, they used to go for 3 months exchange, like for example, for their citizenship process. Now they are sitting at, even board exam children are sitting there attending virtual class, whatever the practical classes they could attend. Now let me come to the point, 3 points, 3 major categories. What are all the disturbances when we enter into globalization? And we have to overcome this. Then there is a chance of talking about globalizing that and bringing a world-class education after post-COVID-19. Technological disturbances, technology gap to be completely in the online learning, changes in the learning modes, equity and equality to be. Common lessons and opportunities. Yes, of course, using ICT platform, redefine.
Sir, I really do not want to stop you. In 1 minute, if you can conclude, would be really great, sir.
Economic disturbances, social disturbances, these are all to be put up and we have to address to that. Then there is a scope of bringing. Then political disturbances, cultural disturbances, learning disturbances. These gaps and vacuum to be carefully identified, and if you could fill up, there is a scope of bringing, there is a good platform of bringing a world-class education system, and we can improve upon all this area. See, expectations are there. Even we do have much expectations all. But thing is, as rightly are pointed from the keynote address and Subarna sir, like these are all to be, the bridge to be built up between both. Like you see, as Charles Catwin quotes, the world hates changes, yet it is the only thing that has brought progress. This COVID condition, COVID-19 brought 125 teacher exchange program webinar we have conducted, energizing the teachers, and best teaching practices also we have shared. We had programs with CBSE. We had program with ASCII, that is one of the major training programmers in Hyderabad. So these are all possible, cutting down the wastage of time and money, and sitting in our place and reaching out the people. Definitely there is a scope, if positively if you think. I wish this will happen in future with the help of eminent famous universities like Shivanada University and Policy Times. And definitely we are waiting for that type of opportunities in future. Thank you so much. Thank you for all.
Wonderful, sir. Highly resource rich and to the point. PPP, public-private partnership, R&D investment, research and development investment, innovative education models. See, Japanese education system is not as the Denmark or Sweden's education system, and neither is with the South Korean education system or Singaporean education system. They have some commonalities, but very different given their own countries, system and need. So I want to request Parthu sir, do you have any comment in between you want to share?
I think it's very rich discussion that we are having, and I think one thing that has come up very clearly is this digital way of collaboration. I think that is here to stay, right? I mean, one of the things I think as positive, if you want to call it a positive, is what we figured out is this is a way that we can connect to so much more and so many more people, right? And at Shivnad University, for example, we moved classes March 13th itself, we moved all our classes online, and we are still holding classes online. And all our activities are being online, including, our international collaborations. Our students are actually participating in exchange with NUS, National University of Singapore, online. Similarly, we are holding online courses. And I think between SARC countries, it's very easy to do this kind of a thing, that we can build a network where we stay connected through this digital process. And I think that's something that we need to work on.
Yeah, I also find a huge opportunity of Shivnadar University in reaching out to the SAARC countries, in providing a world-class kind of education resources, training, and all. So teacher training also, Ramil have mentioned, which is very important. I want to go now and request to our next speaker. The next speaker is again another veteran and very renowned and important face of Nepal in the education sector, Miss Meera Pradhan, Principal, Chandbagh School. Ma'am, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Akram sir. I would like to thank the Policy Time for giving us the opportunity for collaborating, learning from different veterans. Thank you so much, Akram sir.
Always
Now, as we are talking about the globalization and the world-class education, first, I just want to take in a point from Mr. Chatterjee, sir. He said that Nalanda, he quoted about the Nalanda, okay. And then I remember Shanti Niketan. They are counted as a world-renowned universities in the world, not in India, all over the world. They are not been recognized by because of their something extra they have in say digital or something. They have there's some extra values in them. When we talk about education, what usually we go for academics, enhancement of academics. I'm more inclined towards the other part of education, that's social and emotional learning and spiritual learning. That is literally usually most of the organizations has been sidelined. Well, when we talk about globalization, we want a world-class institution. We need to know in which area we would like to highlight our organization. Is it that we want to be extraordinary in the academics or something extra that is an edge over against? If we go only for academics, then we are trying to go on the follow the path of, say, Western education system. If we take in a Western education system, their philosophy is more on individualistic learning. Whereas when we look into the philosophy of Eastern education, we are more social learners. We emphasize on it. I would like to highlight the point. Why not we take an Eastern education system and bring it as in a world-like class education? Why not we make, usually when I talk, when both the children, they are MBAs. MBAs, academicians, very strong in their academic area, but somewhere when I see it, somewhere they all the MBAs or the postgraduates, or doctorates, when I meet them, my ex-students are doctorates, somewhere they lack in this part, that human resource part, social and emotional factor. If we take an improve in that area, then our children, our students will have an edge over against the other universities and other or institutions. Like education, we say in last time also I've quoted, it's a heart, hand, and a heart, head, and
And
heart, head, and
hand.
hand. This is to be connected. Okay. Sometimes we see when we go for education, we emphasize more on head. If we connect head with the heart, I think we can have a world-class education. And we are very rich in our culture, social culture, and religious culture. Why not take this point and highlight and come up with the world-class education like we have in ages back, in decades back, in centuries back?
Right.
These are the human values. Why not for the human values? Why don't we highlight this point? Why we overlook that human values? Why not include the human values in higher education as well? Because when they go for MBAs, we teach them other marketing policies, but we overlook about the values, what they carry on. If the children, those students, those who come out with the university, if they have that human values, they will have an edge over. Maybe the Western countries will look for. This is what I think is lacking in, not now, like as sir said, previous speaker has said, Mr. Chatterjee has said, later on of 20 years you don't know what type of job opportunities will be there, but there will be after 20 or 30 years back also, the values will be counted,
Absolutely.
and it will really, they can sell themselves if they have no value. Individual, all that academic values everyone has, if
If
we
you can
can
conclude, then
empower them,
we can. Yeah.
empower with the values, I think we can come up with a better universities and organization. Thank you so much with this
No
point.
doubt, ma'am.
Thank you
Your
everyone for listening
heart,
me.
head, and hand combination is wonderful. And
And hand,
actually,
it should be
today's,
connected.
in today's time, we need to build an education infrastructure, education architecture, which addresses heart, head, and hand. No doubt in that. I want to
Hand, yes sir.
request. Thank you so much, ma'am. I want to request our next speaker.
Thank
By
you.
accident or by chance, we have Professor Ujjwal K. Chaudhary, who is a pro vice chancellor at Adams University, also former dean of Symbiosis and MIT universities. So, Professor Chaudhary, just a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes on the topic, since you are here.
Thank you, thank you. I was just listening to the friends from peers from Nepal. I had been myself in Nepal for a couple of years long back, some 7-8 years ago, and it was very interesting to listen to various aspects. Madam just now spoke about values in education. I would like to note, yes, undoubtedly, the concept of values is universal and has to be there at every level of education. However, school education is the right place to instill the values which are for lifetime. I was a Ramakrishna Mission pass out from school, and the values which were brought in Ramakrishna Mission once again, has been or repeatedly has been coming in life back. Coming to current situation, it was very interesting to listen to global certification and other collaboration and all those. I would like to bring forth this point. 20th century was about competition, particularly post-pandemic now, all across 21st century, but more particularly now, the world is not of competition anymore. It must actually, to survive, humanity as a race to survive, should move to collaboration than competition. From our childhood, we are taught to compete, first with our siblings, then with the neighbors, then with the peers, then at the job, as if our life has been a permanent saga of endless competitions. We really need to move towards a new paradigm of thinking and working, and that's collaboration. So in post-pandemic time, it's not enough to be passionate. It's more important to be compassionate. And compassion requires collaboration. That's something, and therefore, these sort of discussions are very worthy, very useful, but only if it is followed up with collaborative practices among the institutes which come together. It's not enough to meet together on seminars and speak the right things at the right time, but actually to follow it up with the right action. That's one point I'd like to put forth. And secondly, as artificial intelligence and automation are coming up in a big way, What we know as jobs today, majority of them will not stay. Due to lack of time, I'm not giving examples. I have been in some of the European countries, and I've seen many of, even in Middle East, many of things what we do human wise in India or in Nepal are actually done by machines. So therefore, for people, on one side there has to be population growth control, quality of the people rather than the quantity is to be the focus. And on the other hand, we need to understand that anything, there is a template already. Anything that can be replicated by machine will be done by machine. So the only way of keeping human beings in gainful employment is to bring in creative learning, is to bring in innovative learning, is to bring in problem solving learning, leadership and teamwork learning, and similar other conflict resolution learning, and similar other things. These are the things that machines cannot do. And this is where we can collaborate. How do we turn our education more and more creative, innovative, problem solving, crisis solving, teamwork based, and leadership based? This is where collaboration is required among institutions. These competitions that we have, particularly among private universities and private schools, whether India or Nepal, is a completely lopsided, irrelevant, and obsolete sort of an idea. Let us not have competition. Let's collaborate. And the last point I'll say, there is a lot we can do in collaborating to understand new source of learning resource. So far, learning resource was a book and a PowerPoint or a lecture on with chalk and talk by the teacher. The new age learning resource is very different. The teacher has been turned, is no more a sage on the stage. Teacher is now a mentor who aggregates knowledge from various sources, his or her proprietary knowledge and open source aggregated knowledge in the form of videos, in the form of infographics, podcasts, slideshows, case studies, lectures, everything. And these shared with the students before the classroom discusses it, whether it's a physical class or a digital. Digital and physical is not ultimately significant because it will be a blended world. Part of it digital and part of it physical always.
Thank you.
Going ahead.
Yeah.
So I will end with this, that there has to be collaboration on creating resources, learning resources, and new examination assessment systems. The current systems are all obsolete again. Can we have non-Googleable questions which can be answered with open book but cannot be copied? Can we have examinations based or evaluation based on real life work or project in the ground and presentations on that? Similar and other evaluation. Due to lack of time, I'm not getting into it. New normal teaching, teaching is old again.
Thank you.
New normal mentoring and assessing are very different than what it was earlier. Thank you.
A lot of points, lot of resource rich again, and a lot of points. And I don't want to repeat. I want to request my co-moderator, my colleague, Ms. Roshi, to kindly now take the second half of the program ahead. Before that, Pathu sir, any observation till now? What is the discussion we have done?
I think, as I mentioned, what we need to do is build upon all of these discussions that we are having, right? And we need to figure out a way where we can stay connected, we can, work connectedly. And that is something that Akram, you and I, and all of us together here will work on after this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Ms. Roshi, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Akram. Before I begin, probably I need to introduce myself. I'm Roshi, namaste. I work at Kathmandu University School of Management as an assistant professor. I take courses on marketing, management, and research. So it's been a very wonderful discussion for the past 1 hour with all the esteemed speakers, and some of them, as I happen to be my friends. And the next speaker happens to be my batchmate, and we've been friends at our bachelor's level, BBA, when we were doing our BBA studies. So it's definitely going to be a pleasure for me to invite him over. He's Mr. Abhishek K. Karki. He's the Associate Director, Undergraduate School and for the Startup Center at ACE Institute of Management. So over to Abhishek, and then we take it forward. I think we have 7 more speakers to go. So we'll have to be mindful of the time as well. Over to you.
Thank you, Roshi. Am I audible, Roshi?
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
you're all go.
thank you. It's good to see you for a long time. Thank you for the kind introduction. A warm good evening to all the passionate and prominent educators present here. When we are talking about globalizing education and building world-class institutions, I would want to focus my particular discourse on how effective are we as education institutions in producing graduates who are ready to be a part of the global workforce, and how do we increase the interconnectedness and effective collaborations between students and faculty members and faculty members amongst institutions across the world, not constraining within a certain border. So let me list down some ways this could be done. Now, the points I'm going to mention may seem a little obvious, but also at times overlooked. So, my first of the 4 points are the curricula or the curriculum. The curriculum which we pursue should incorporate global and updated perspectives. We are all aware that the world is constantly changing. Business practices are constantly changing. New researches are coming up with new findings ever so often. So, at the policy level, it is imperative that the individuals and institutions responsible to frame the curricula should keep a close watch on all these aspects and also on how the curricula across the world is changing. So it's important to have continuous changes in the curricula to better prepare the graduates for a fast changing global business environment. The second point, improvement in the digital and technological competencies of the education institutions. The textbooks, reference books, and the physical library should only be a small portion of the total knowledge platform available to the students. Education institutions should collaborate with e-resources platforms, creating an e-library for students with extensive, rich, and diverse resources from across the world in multidisciplinary areas. Investing in extensive e-resources is an incredibly effective tool to offer students with knowledge that acquaints them with new happenings on their particular areas of interest and also gives them an in-depth understanding of global perspectives. My third point, collaborations. Collaboration between education institutions of different countries, where the students of different schools of different countries can work together in a team to accomplish a certain project. This can be done through an online platform where they don't necessarily have to cross borders to work together. This gives them a perspective of what it actually is like working at a global platform with a multicultural team to achieve a common goal. So, this way, they're prepared to work in a diverse environment so that tomorrow, when they do have to work professionally in multicultural teams, it's easier for them to adjust. And finally, global interactions, organizing webinar interaction sessions like the one we are engaged in today. Education institutions should provide a platform for the students and the faculty members to interact with students and faculty members of other institutions across the world, making use of technology. It's when the educational ecosystem and its stakeholders, especially the students, are exposed to perspectives beyond the local context that they can gain a truly global perspective. So these are some of the points I wanted to share, and I'm very inquisitive to listen to other speakers. It has been a very insightful session so far, and I look forward to the session forward. Thank you all for listening, and Roshi, back to you.
Oh, thank you. That was quite on time. Do you want to add anything on the startup center that is that you're
Uh,
looking after at ACE? Because you have maybe a minute or so.
Yeah, Roshi, sure. So what we used to do is, as business schools, it's important that you're not just preparing managers that are going out in the world to work in organizations to lead organization, but also creating entrepreneurs, who are giving were creating jobs for these managers and you know bringing in at the moment what we can see is that in Nepal the customers have become very experimental, right? And they want to experiment with new products and new services. So this is just the right time as business schools to come up with centers where we prepare entrepreneurs who can go out and bring new products and new services that can cater not just to the local context and the local market, but can also transcend beyond boundaries. So that is what a startup center is all about. And we are in the beginning, and we look forward to creating great entrepreneurs for the world. Thank you, Roshi.
Great, great. Thank you. It was a pleasure. And yeah, you kept it so short and sweet and precise. And as we were discussing, as we as business educators, we try to produce entrepreneurs, but we sometimes have to be entrepreneurs ourselves, rather entrepreneurs, right? So that's where probably our ideas, our unique ideas might also support in trying to figure out how we can collaborate across both the nations. So thank you. Let me move to the next speaker now, Mr. Rudra Prasad Kimire. He is the principal of DAV Business School and looks after the MBA program there. Rudra sir, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you, organizer. I just would like to share some of the important points that would be the uh, milestone and maybe the breakthrough in the reason that we have to discuss about the regional public goods. This education is the regional public goods, and the management of the regional public goods is challenging. And after the COVID-19, all sites of schools or colleges or universities, wherever, or research institute, they are facing the challenges, and the impact is actually in terms of the fiscal sides and the health sides. The current policy is not working, and still Millennium Development Goals, graduations of the countries, these are affected. In this scenario, the remote areas students' case is very rigorous and very severe cases that we should think there. And the remote education, it's challenging in the perspective of the management. The main thing here, I want to share that the first thing is the regions should have integrated education policy, e-education policy. If we have e-education policy, we can build up the body of education system and its mechanism, how we should be regulated in the framework of the education, in the in the classroom sophistication, in the teaching sophistications, the methodology, the programs, quality programs we have to conduct to enrich the betterment of the cognitive and non-cognitive skills. So second point is that the empowerments regions empowerment in terms of the human capital. I'm just to share that the changing scenario allowing us that to think beyond it. Basically, if we run the class, if we run the say the programs belongs to the students or teachers or whatever the training we organize, whatever the literacy programs we organize, whatever the programs, the programs should be qualitative in the organizations, in organization simply means in the university, in the college. If there is no quality infrastructures, then the education cannot be promoted in the rural areas, in the urban areas, or wherever. We have, yes, example of excellent universities, what they are striving to provide the quality education. But here, normally, we have to, the third point, I would like to share that normally we have to first diagnose what is the problem. So we should have the resource on that areas, right? So if we understand the problems of education, then definitely we can coordinate the policies of all countries. All countries' education policies should be integrated and that definitely provides and regulates the all stakeholders of the education sectors. And the 4 points is that we have now, it's an opportunity to develop the infrastructure, means digital infrastructures. So based on the energy, in the remote areas, we have to think in the cities areas, the students, they are feeling that they are providing a quality educations. But when we look into the areas where there is no energy, there is no teachers, there is no management of the classes, no schools, schools in the form of state-of-the-art infrastructures, there we should understand the policy, there we should make the policy, and there we should have the quality programs so that we can ensure how we are implementing policy. That are the things we should consider. And the last one is we have to inject to the students in the classroom. We have to inject teachers in the seminar. We have to build up very trained and well-skilled, the resource persons in the education area. So thank you so much. I appreciate to this platform, and Rosie ma'am is heading these things also. And thank you, ma'am. And over to you. Thanks to all the scholars.
Thank you, Rudra sir. Thank you once again for most of all highlighting the need for carrying out research. And without that, you cannot find out what's the actual issues, and we would not be able to resolve those for the mutual benefit of both the parties. And here we're talking about cross-country collaboration. Thank you. I did not want to repeat everything again. So moving on to the next speaker.
Before that, can I just,
yeah.
yeah.
Sure, Dr.
No, that
Yes.
got a very important point about inclusivity and trying to reach out to a large set of people who are not necessarily just privileged. And here, I think one of the things that at least in Shivnada University we are very, very cognizant about is how to do that, how to achieve that. And this is because this is very important. One, first of all, I mean, because our university is completely a philanthropic university, so which is an effort by Mr. Shivnadar. So we are very grateful to him because he has funded it all. So not only the fees are very low, we have kept our fees low because at the end of the day, you don't want a university which caters to only a few, right? The whole idea of a university is that it has to be universal, and therefore, we try to do that. And I think that's an important thing, that we try to keep the fees low. And we also have several scholarships, 25 at present, probably about 80% of our students are in some kinds of scholarship. But this year for the intake, for example, we have 25% of the students who will study under scholarship. And there are also few scholarships available, for example, for students from the neighboring countries, including Nepal. So I thought I'll just point that out.
Thank you for highlighting that. Probably that will give a good food for thought for many people who might be thinking that this could be something that may not be affordable for many. So thank you once again, Dr. Chatterjee. Please feel free to, whenever you feel like sharing anything additional from your side, please do that. Next, we move on to Mr. Hem Sankar Bhattrai. He's an assistant lecturer from Sarda campus, and he also takes classes at Kopwa College, and there is this army college called Sainik Avasya Mahavidyalaya in Bhaktapur. So let's hear Mr. Hem Sankar. Hari sir, are you there? Hari Bhattrai? If not, I'll have to move on to the next speaker. Okay. Meanwhile, let me request Mr. Tilak Bahadur Khatri, who is the head teacher of Siva Secondary School, Jajarkot, Karnali, Nepal. And I must mention that the school that I'm mentioning, from which Mr. Tilak Bahadur Khatri hails, belongs to a very remote place of Nepal, in the far western part. So, Tilak, sir, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, Rosie, ma'am.
Okay.
Introduce me and my place. Thanks for Policy Times and Mr. Akram sir and Policy Times, our whole teams and Sivananda University. I am very happy today. I love connectivism, but here is some scholars describes about different strategies for education. But in my side, we are in the very far western parts of the Nepal. So here some peoples are very low economic status, and but they have the great historical and indigenous knowledge from the side of these peoples. So the digital era, how to connect the backward society with the developing country, that is the one issues. The policy makers must be include how to upward their social mobility for higher education. For this, the distance learning and digital technology and tools are very important and great tools or digital platform. But how to include the backward society and how to develop their educational status and skills to use of digital technology, that is the one challenges for us. The innovation about the part of sociological and anthropological aspect. Rosi ma'am, are you listening to me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, please go ahead. Yes. I'm happy the internet is working perfect there.
Yeah. Here is some problems to connect internet connectivity.
But it's going absolutely fine. So please go ahead. Yes.
In my site, how to develop the curriculum and teaching learning strategies and resource-based learning or resource-based skill-based education system in Nepal. For that, I mentioned here one point to increase the educational program for equity for equality. So the some peoples are very higher consciousness, but few peoples only achieve the goal for their life and achieve the higher education. But many peoples are undergraduate levels, like as the school level. So to extend the educational faculty and students among the various university and various countries. But the peoples who have not growth and they have not the access to the university education, for them, what can we do? It is the most important aspect. It is to develop the our country like as the developing the all Asian countries. At the last point, here is the one digital gap between the uh, education, our educators, and the backward society. How to fulfill this gap between our society, our education system, and our schools? Here is the physical and educational all activities. With the developing countries, we are very challenging and we are facing the many problems among them. So I want to know how to develop about this education. Thank you, Rasi ma'am.
Thank you, Tilak sir. It was so wonderful. In fact, we have been having very less participants outside Kathmandu Valley. So it's very rare to hear educators outside Kathmandu Valley, and that too, as I said, from one of the remotest part of Nepal. So, as you rightly said, digital divide or the digital gap is something that's going to be a major challenge not just in Nepal, probably that's an issue in even in India, and that's preventing a lot of students from accessing the quality education, and that has been felt by all the educators, especially after the COVID. The challenges were there even in a university like ours in the initial days, and we can imagine how difficult it would have been in the very far-flung um, places of Nepal. So the challenges are there, but I think with the kinds right set of policies from the government side, because the focus has to be now on the digital infrastructure, and there's no other way out, and that is only going to be helping to bridge the gap, as you said, among for people who belong to the very marginalized community, underprivileged sections of the society. I think if you can somehow develop the digital infrastructure, ensure that the internet is going to be used for a very productive purpose, like not just students are using it for social media, but if the internet is available for educational purpose, I think that's where we can somehow to some extent be able to mitigate the issues. So with that, the next speaker would be Mr. Syam Kumar Thapa, again a known friend of mine. He's a research analyst, is from the Institute of Social Economic Research and Development. So over to you, Sam Thapa. Sam Thapa, sir, are you there? Hello, Sam Thapa. Looks like
I think Shem sir,
not around. Okay.
yeah, he was
Then
there.
let's move on to the next one. Yeah, that's as we talk about digital connectivity, that is what we face most of the time. The challenges are there, as we discussed. So the next one is Mr. Padmaraj Bastakoti. He's a teacher assistant from the elementary secondary school. Can we have Mr. Bastakoti? Sorry, Padma sir, are you there? Somehow I am not able to see him in the
Yeah, I'm
participant.
also not able to. Amarendra sir is there, so maybe.
Okay, so maybe we can have our Nendra
Or
now.
Hem Shankar sir has spoken.
No, he
Hem
was
Shankar
also not around.
yeah.
He was also not around. Has joined.
Yeah, yeah. Hem sir was here.
Himsankar sir. No, I introduced him, but he didn't seem to be
Oh,
around.
that means they
So
have got disconnected.
maybe. So we can take our Nendra sir and we can open the floor for discussions.
Right.
Yeah, the next half an hour maybe. So over to you, our Nendra.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love
Thank
to.
you. Good evening, the prominent academicians. Well, being the last speaker, it's very tough to have some new points. But then, as Mr. Akram said, I probably will be concluding the things. Well, to start with, what globalization has had a relevant impact also in the field of education. Well, had there been no MOUs between the universities, the world would not have seen the world that we are seeing now. It is only through the opportunities and endeavors that we feel a link and a decipher as to what others say, feel, believe, and perceive. Well, I remember Mr. Ranjan Ojha, sir. We discussed about entrepreneurship, which is all about creative ideas. And if two individuals have one idea each and they share with each other, then they have two ideas. Now, talking about the education practice, in fact, best education practice that has been adopted includes staying proactive, encouraging communication, keep resources, be a role model, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, everything, all the points that I mentioned, like staying proactive, encouraging communication, keeping resources updated, being a role model, that has been as a primitive teaching learning process, all that needs a flavor of IT. Well, I remember a quote, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. But then now we need to break it, in fact. Globalization in education is not just having or conducting online classes in the local level. Modern technology means that communication and travel around the world is easier than ever. Education impacted by globalization means school and education systems now compete on a global league table rather than just local or national competition. Well, where 80.26 population lives in rural areas, I'm talking about Nepal, and approximately 34% people are just in reach of internet, and we experienced it just now. Well, Nepal has several unexplored and untouched sectors, no doubt. Of course, the government policies plays an important role, but here comes collaboration with developed countries like India. I'm just focusing on India because there may be several factors, the economic factors, the cultural similarities, and some more points. Well, one more thing I would like to add is we discussed here about PPP model, whether it be PPP model or some other, participation of youth is important. Our system is a multi-generational system wherein the deciding bodies need to adopt newer and the newest technologies. No doubt, participation of youths will bring newer and simpler ideas, and that too because of this globalization. Here I would like to quote Mr. Ujjwal Chaudhary. So he said, teacher is just a mentor. Yes, I agree to it. And the role of IT makes this statement more relevant. Well, and collaborating IT with creative ideas will no doubt help in core globalization of education. I think if I try to put some more points, it would be like repetition of all the points spoken by ex-speakers. So I'd like to conclude my speech here. Thank you uh, for providing me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Avanendraji. That's what happens when you're the last speaker. The points get repetitive, right? But you have no choice at times. So,
Exactly.
Dr. Chatterjee, if you are you going to stay for the discussion as well? If you are, then probably I'll invite you for the closing remarks at the end. But if you're willing to leave a little early, maybe I'll request you to give your closing remarks.
Sure, I can be here for a few more minutes, and I have my colleague Harshita who's around, and she can sum up at the end if it goes on for a little longer. So I'll be here for next 15-20 minutes.
I think we'll be done by then. Yeah, I don't think it'll be longer because it's been quite long, and even being on an online platform for longer hours is like, and it's already cutting across our personal time as well.
Thank you.
Well,
Roshiji?
we end our day quite early, so
Right.
it's already, it's
It's
time
wonderful.
for
We
dinner.
have half an hour full discussion, so we can give now our time enough on some critical aspects of it. And Harshita ji is also here. So thank you so much, Roshi ji. Now I will take over from here in terms of now requesting all of our speakers who are here to kindly come in camera. So Ramalingam, Shankaralingam sir, Avanindra sir, Neera ma'am.
Yes, sir.
And Abhishek sir, if you can also come in camera. And Shobana sir is here. Wonderful, sir. So you are in your school. I kept you waiting, till 6:30. So it's my achievement. No principal, I think, stayed till 6:30. So I have forced you to stay back. So any other faculty member, I can't see though. Yeah. So now we are open for discussion. Any point, any view, or anything that you have in mind. Now we are open. So who would like to initiate the first comment? Ranjan sir, I think I should request you because you spoke first, and since then you are waiting and patiently listening. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much, Akram. Thank you. Oh, it's a very wide range of thoughts coming over. I think let me funnel down myself. Basically talking about entrepreneurship because I represent Nepal School of Entrepreneurship, right? So we, Nepal School of Entrepreneurship, we are basically, we call ourselves as a design business school, or maybe we can also call ourselves as an entrepreneurial education provider. Or maybe also we can call ourselves as opportunity-driven educators. So there's a two cluster going on. One is more of a degree-oriented, one is more of opportunity-oriented. So we, Nepal School of Entrepreneurship, basically we are inspired by one of the esteemed business school or the academic institution based in Denmark, where I used to stay for more than a decade, where I was graduated. So let me give an example of what we do, right? Right now, we are licensed with Count CTV. We call it CTV in Nepal. We are more of a we have a license to run more of a technical and vocational education, but I don't like to use that word. More of I like to call it's a more of entrepreneurial driven education. So now we are providing. We have a different projects, but let me explain one of the project. Very small project. We provide barista training to folks here in Kathmandu. Apart from that, we provide them a training, a theoretical training, but also we run our own cafe, which is a social cafe, one of the, I think, widely known cafe in Kathmandu, right? So why we are different is, as I think Roshi has said, to teach an entrepreneurship, you have to become an entrepreneur yourself. So we give them training in our school, and then we provide a practical training in our full-fledged run cafe. So that makes us a different in providing education. So entrepreneurship is not about a hypothesis. It's more of a hands-on training. It's more of a hands-on skill, more of observation, real-world observation. So entrepreneurship has become, I think it's become a widely discussed, widely.
Yeah, I'll take over from here, sir. Absolutely, you are bang on. Entrepreneurship is the only solution for many of the, just like education is the first foundational solution to a lot of problems of the country or society. Entrepreneurship again is one of the best solutions. I think is one of the prominent solutions for sustainable economic development. I totally agree with you, though I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. But since
you're a living example, Akram.
Mr. Akram, I think we educators we shouldn't be telling what they should do. We should inspire them to come up with their own version of observation, version of entrepreneurship. So we shouldn't tell them.
The point that I want to pick, sir, is unless you become an entrepreneur, you can't say others that you please be entrepreneur. So that is why I thought let me take the initiative and do something. So I'll just repeat the points and then I'll
just add. It's very good to know that this is happening at the school level. I'm very, very impressed with what you are doing. In fact, even at Shivnath University, our management school is called School of Management and Entrepreneurship. It's not only because we really strongly believe in entrepreneurship, because given our founders' history and all of it, right? Because it is an entrepreneurship-driven thing, but also in some sense, what we are trying to do is, what we're trying to call is enterprise education in some sense, right? Because it's in all departments, there is that bit of it, whether it's through research projects, whether it's through. So I think it's very important that we, kind of, as you said, inspire or imbibe this culture in our students for the future, right? So yeah, so I'm very, very, very happy to know that this is happening at your school. Yeah.
That's why we don't call barista, we call the enterprising barista. It's not about coffee making, it's about thinking the coffee entirely as a whole system, right?
Yeah. Shankaraligam sir, Suvarna sir, comment, and then Nira ma'am also.
Yes.
Abhishek sir is also there. So whosoever unmute themselves first is the mic is yours.
Okay, I'm here, I think.
Oh, great, sir.
I'm here. Okay. So what I came to know for the summarization of today's, it was quite nurturing for me as well. In this what you call brief discussion, it's my pleasure that I received some new innovations in education as well within Nepal. So what I came to know is every locations, every country, every places are divinely blessed. Let's seek the entrepreneurship from there onwards. So for that, we need to pave our education policy, and we need to have a collaborative research on it to come up with this genuinely new finding for the upcoming generations and for the prosperity of the country and in our what you call cross-border relationships as well. I think this would be something new for the school education program. And I previously mentioned that the what do you call notification or the skill determination certification, if we focus on it, and that would be the new era for the education over here, for the development of education over here, and cross-border relationship as well. Thank you very much.
Great. Shankaralingam, sir.
Yes, indeed, it is very glad to attend this program. This very much discussion, valid discussions went on. I would like to insist only one thing. Even in Nepal here, the attitude of the parents directly goes to the same motto of engineers, doctors, like that only first. So what we are discussing now, entrepreneurship, skill-based education, new education policy reveals that we have to inculcate, tying up with some of these programs, government agencies, and district level, Pradesh level, and national level. We could have a program. Oja sir can take the initiative. That will be really helpful for me. We are struggling. Neera ma'am definitely will accept with this. Like problem is for me for the past 8 years, a decade is going to be over here. I am still attending. My daughter wants to be doctor. My daughter wants to be engineer. Pre-nursery level admission people are telling. But we are talking about, as rightly in National Congress Convention, India is not the what we are discussing like that. I'm taking that note. That society is not like what we are discussing. Root level. My children are coming from far place like Taplejung, Arunveli, from that. Even their thing is they want to put their children in BP Kerala Institute of Medical Sciences. Their awareness, the awareness is very much missing. They are telling, if I take admission in Delhi Public School, BPKHS, directly will you send my daughter and son to BP Kerala? Then I tell, not only that, high VIP children, they note only their quota system. Their children should go to that quota system to doctors or any medical courses. But I tell you, Mr. Partha, like it took time for me. 2013 December, I took over. I put a meeting, the importance of IT education. People are 112 children. They have taken admission, 3 section in my school, science, exclusive CBSE school, but nobody is ready to take IP, informatics practice 2013. All would like to take physical education just to pass physics, chemistry, biology to enter into medical coaching. Kathmandu, they go, sorry to tell all share, so open platform. They go to Kathmandu and they go for vigorous coaching, like whatever the medical coaching, the books, 5 years book, 10 years books they have read, and they take admission in medical, finished, over. It is very, but to them, it took time for me. I made it compulsory. IP is one of the main subject you have to learn. You won't believe, around 35% of my children after 2014-15, they are well settled in abroad. Australia, New Zealand, they have got good connectivity. I wonder that it is a really blessed area. Somebody told before our speakers, it is really blessed, divine place. Everybody have got, in each and every home, they have got a foreign connectivity. Network is there. For Indians, this facility is not there. If any Indian student, they complete BTech only, they can enter into America, sorry, in New Zealand, Australia, Hong Kong and all. Every one of them have got foreign, but thing is they need some awareness, skill-based education, not from this, it is not required. That like only science, physics, chemistry, biology, if I study only, I can go, not like that. Even 35 students have taken admission in commerce, they are in well, good positions. That also they aim for Sriram, they aim for some other college, not like that. Like universities like that, please, you can interact with them and directly you can take a good slot of students. As you rightly told, I'm happy to say you are, Mr. Shivnadar from my own district only. Mr. Shivnadar from my own district, I belong to same district. Even I'm happy to share with this this platform. Shivnadar University have got a quota of government school children. Government school children can take admissions. They are getting benefit out of in Chennai branch and in Noida branch. I know very well. One of my friend's daughter is studying there. So these are all the things to be exposed and the platforms to be shown to them. And there is definitely more venues are there. I would like to insist one, availability of faculty, a short-term certificate courses. Mr. Partha sir, if you could help with your contact, short-term courses, art and craft, skill-based short-term certificate courses. After 12th, they enter into the enter into this category of teaching and all. We don't want B.Tech, M.Tech people. After 12th standard, a short-term course between our new education policy tells between that 12th and our polytechnic, they do something and they teach informally to our children. Definitely, they will get some scope into that, because interior places, who is going and helping them? For example, plumber, turner, fitter, all. There is a school, famous school. I hope Mr. our Ranjan Oja sir knows our government faculties. Anybody is there? Public school in Dharan, one of the well-equipped public school, which is associated with an Indian system, ITI. It is there, but very limited children only taking admissions there. Directly they jump into this type of engineering, medical, all these areas. So entrepreneurship,
Thank
the
you, sir.
conditioned mind.
More comments, then I'll come back again to you.
Yes. Entrepreneurship should reach out to the root level. Then there is a scope of bringing them closer, and there is a change. There will be a change in that.
No doubt. Neera ma'am, Abhishek sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I would take the same word from our principal, sir. He said entrepreneurship. Like, no, the children are. It's not that they are not interested. They are, I would say it. We fail to create that interest in the children. They are not aware about the different say opportunities, career opportunities for the students. Because I have recently come to know one of my student of class 8 is excellent in computer skill. We didn't know about it. He made a lot of videos, videos related with the IT. As we came to know during the lockdown period, now I've come to know. Now we are trying to promote his skill. He was not aware. What we do is children, as sir said, everyone would like to go for engineer and doctors. We are promoting. Now we don't, what I have started now, what I have realized, promoting all different career in class 9 and 10 is will not do. I'm trying to promote the different career counseling right from class 5, 6 onwards. Let them see what are the different careers they have it. We do the career counseling only in 10, 11, and 12. That will be too late. And it's not that we have to produce the leaders only. What I see it, let the child pick up his own interest area. Now I think upcoming children will have greater opportunities. If the child takes up the cooking, he can be the best cook.
Absolutely.
I say you don't have to be the joker, be the ringmaster. If you polish your shoes, be the best cobbler, like a bata. If you want to be chef, be the best chef. You can take a career in a pastries and do the PhD in that area. And if you have an interest in making momo, come up with the creative momo. So let the child take up his own interest. And I think if we as a leader, educational leader, if we can convey the message to the parents as well, it's not only the students. We figure out what the child is interested about, and if we can convince the parent accordingly, will not have the same repetition like we have in Three Idiots. The child is there for engineering, and later on he jumps over. Let him not repent is after spending 5 years of his bachelor's and professional lines, and then come back to the same photography. If we can do that, I think we can come up with the best institution. I think this is our main theme.
Thank you.
If we can figure out, we'll do the best.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We will explore to the fullest of our potential. So,
Yeah.
any Abhishek sir?
So I'll just take a minute to reflect on the discussions I heard. One or two speakers, I think they very rightfully talked about the digital divide. We come from that privileged section where we actually don't feel the deficiency of the digital divide that actually exists, but larger part of the population, the educators and the students, they do not have the access that we have. So I think there has to be intervention at the policy level, from the government level, or public-private partnership, so that we can work more on the infrastructure and internet. So that is number one. Because while we're talking about globalization here, it's difficult for many people to go even regional. So that is one part that we need to take care of. And number two, as I had also mentioned earlier, investing in e-resources. I think that is really very important. As some of the educators at the school level also talked here. If you really want the children to explore more about what they want to become in the future, you have to be able to provide them more resources through which they can explore. So maybe what we do that in a higher education level, but I think that needs to be started more towards the school level itself, so they can explore themselves better. So that is more or less from my side. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Any other speaker we have for this evening who would like to comment on this? So those who are also not in the video, so anyone who would like to comment, most welcome. Otherwise, I will ask one question to the entire panel, and I would like to take your views. Before that, let me just quickly summarize the broader points we discussed. How do we globalize education? Number one, teachers and students, we need to expose them to the global world. How are they exposed to the global? Are they global ready? The teachers and students both. Do they have global competence? Do we have global classroom resources? Are our institutions completely 100% technology driven? Are we integrated with the world? Are we collaborating with the whole world? Then there are three things I found from my very basic and short research is number one, the highest salary should be given to our teachers so that they maintain the integrity of education in their career, so that they don't go and jump into and start another coaching center side by in the site and to make some livelihood. The second thing is we need to incorporate the national values in our education system, and these are, I think, a couple of points that I just got. And highly skilled education is one, and all the points shared by our speakers. Faculty student exchange, a lot of joint infrastructure, research, co-creation, synergy, networking, skill transfer, global certification, public-private partnership, R&D, innovative models. We need a lot of local innovations in the system. Teachers training has never been given importance in many systems, but we need excessive focus on teacher training. Social, emotional, spiritual learning, heart, head, and hand, and a lot of other points. So, with this, any other last point now? I want to ask also, clubbing all this together, what are the action agenda actually you want to suggest to all of the stakeholders? Now we are all educators, you are all principals and then leaders in the institution. What specific action role you would expect from the policymakers, from parents, all stakeholders, parents, students, and then your fraternity? So I would like to little broaden the theme, and maybe you can comment a bit. I request to Parthu sir to start off. Yeah, you have to.
Sorry, it wasn't, yeah, unmuting for some reason. No, I think, it was a wonderful discussion and of course, wonderful meeting all of you. I wish we could do this physically, but this is also very nice. And I hope to do that physically sometime, maybe travel to some of your schools and see how things are working. There are a few things that have definitely come up that we need to take forward. But one thing that I think has been highlighted, and I think we probably can work on that very soon and through digital mode, is to create awareness among students about the holistic education that we have been talking about today, right? Because our education that we are talking about is not only geared towards an entrance exam or one particular stream or something like that. Because what matters most in education is finding a good fit, a matching exercise, so to say. Because not everyone can become the best in just one field, but everyone can become best in what they want to become, what they want to pursue. And that is something that I think we, as educators, we have to kind of convey to our students that there are opportunities in all kinds of areas. You need to become good at that. And therefore, we can think about creating maybe a series, whether maybe talking about particular areas or answering, maybe we can create a forum where students can ask questions. So I think, that is something, one of the action points I would say, if, Akram and Harshita, if you think about it, that how to implement that, we can of course do webinars for particular schools, but, creating a platform where students can actually get exposed to this thing, think about these things, and get guidance from all of us, because otherwise they will not be able to mm, think much more creatively, take much more risks, because it's very easy to become conservative in the way when saying that, oh, I want to get to that track where everyone else is going. But to think that, oh no, I really am creative, I want to be an artist. By the way, Shivnada University has a very good arts department where we have artists and performance artists. So I mean, there are opportunities of all kinds that maybe students are not aware of. So we need to figure out a way. That's, I think, one action point that I would want to see, taking shape of some form.
Thank you.
And the second, Anakram, that is something that we have been having conversation about, is to create a network within South Asia, because we cannot, none of us can do things just on our own, right? I mean, it's very difficult to do anything just alone. But if we can create a platform where educators can come together, and not only in Nepal and India, but Nepal, India, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, right? All of these countries, in Pakistan, but as you know, India and Pakistan, sometimes visa issues and so on can become difficult, but maybe digital format ways which we can reach all South Asian countries. That would be wonderful if we can figure out how to go about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We will surely do that. And we are almost on the verge of doing it now. We are starting, Nepal being number one. So any other comment? Otherwise, we will go and close the session. We have already crossed the time. And I can see Shubhanu sir, now will start hitting me. Akram, what are you doing? Whole day you have wasted. So thank you so much, sir. Wonderful to have you all. Wonderful discussion. We'll make a press short note of this discussion. It was a very high quality discussion. A lot of points came in. Those points I will share with you, which we can refer to our respective governments also, so that there is something substantial, because we at Policy Times, and also now I'm really pleased and happy that Shivnadar is also our partner. We just don't want to talk. We need some action agenda, and we want to lead this talk into some actions. We all together, if we come forward, my only humble request to especially all the South Asian countries, that educators need to be much more proactive to change our nations, because educators are the one who have the knowledge, who have been working on the ground, and they are very sober, soft, and genuine, talented people. We have to come in the front to change our nations, and if we do so, I think no one can stop us, because we also have a certain amount of respect in this society. Sir.
It is my request to Shivnada University, if we could send some eminent persons, those who are really can interact with our schools, selected schools, area wise, we will reach out. It's not like that they have to come to Dharan, our school. Location wise, Pradesh wise, 2-3 schools you will locate, we will reach there, and directly we can interact. They can arrange a program. Whatever webinar we do also, that's not after this COVID vaccination program drive is over, they can visit the schools, they can increase according to they can interact with the students, more avenues they can tell, sharing with the children, because so many universities are coming to our campus, but ultimately end up with 2-3, sorry to say, 2-3 admissions, they are over, they forgotten. Again, next January, March, they come, we arrange all the program. That should not be. So if anybody comes, they can, even you can visit. I am very much transparent. You can come and visit our school lab, everything. You can suggest me. These are all the things are there. Quality management can be done for the children. We expect from our university. We need this type of metal for entrepreneurship. We need this type of metal for art department. Children should know. 8th standard, if they get that ignition, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, like one package, they learn. Definitely they reach out. I'm not talking for Shivnada University. Anywhere we need a quality society in future.
Absolutely.
That is possible only by you like people. We are all just ladder making people. School level we are discussing. If you ask me about the higher studies, whatever things, I can share certain points, but I can't reach out the root level. You can do that. You are meeting the matured mindset people, collegiate students. So if you tell we will produce that type of people, you can please make a plan to visit this place, and definitely we will also support whatever we could do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll definitely be happy to do that. We'll take it up with you later on, yeah, and all of you.
Thank you.
Thank
Absolutely. That's the, if Shivnadul forgets, we'll remind it. Don't worry. So,
yes, Akram is very good at that.
Harshita, would you like to say something because you were patiently listening? So, and then we'll close it.
No, I think this was a fantastic hearing people and interestingly different regions of Nepal itself. So thank you for broadening that horizon for us. It was glad to have people beyond Kathmandu Valley, and I think I come from a place which is very close to Nepal border, have been there several times, and I really appreciate the courage and the rigor people have over there. So as Neera ma'am said, it's true that people there are blessed with a lot of talents, and what we need or what the countries, adjacent countries, probably like India, can offer are tapping to that potential. Something like a stronger SARC is the most welcome thing in this era for the whole world, I believe. So thank you all, and we will stay connected. I've shared the contact details in the chat box. We'll stay connected for different things, for conversations, for reaching out, and as Professor Sankaralingam said, definitely visiting schools once borders open and it's safe to travel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Harshita. With this, to all my respected educators from Nepal, we formally close the session. Thank you so much, Partha sir, for being